I'm sure I applied like around September, and I got the offer before end of the year. I think the earlier you apply, the better.
Hi everyone, you're warmly welcome back to my channel. My name remains Miss Ampufa and this is the International Student Hub. Over here I vlog about my experience as an international student abroad. So today I have the singular honor to interview a friend of mine. We met at a conference early this spring and he's here to share his experience as an international student over here and then give you some helpful tips, especially the prospective applicants. So, you are welcome. Can you please introduce
Thank you very
yourself?
much. Yeah, my name is Olatunde Awotunde, and I'm from Nigeria.
Okay.
I'm currently studying at University of Notre Dame. I'm in third year PhD program in chemistry. Thank you.
Wow. Awesome. Thank you, Olatunde, for honoring my invitation. I'm really honored.
Yeah, mostly welcome.
Okay. So, how did you hear about your school?
My experience is quite different because I didn't come straight from Nigeria to Notre Dame. I started from Illinois State University, where I had my master's degree. So on getting close to the end of my program in Illinois State, I was looking for options to schools. So I met with my advisor then, and he gave me options of good schools around I could apply to. And Notre Dame happened to be one of them. Yeah, so I just pushed my application in through. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So it means that Notre Dame was actually recommended by a faculty.
Yeah.
But then, okay. But then I'm more interested in your transition from Nigeria to
Okay.
the States.
Cool.
So we can go back
Okay.
to Illinois. Yeah. How did you
Okay.
hear about Illinois? Is it Illinois State or?
Good question.
Yeah.
Okay, I think I started applying to schools from Nigeria, searching through the internet, look for good schools and stuff. And I'm a favorite fan of one particular social media app in Nigeria called Nairaland. So on that page, there are actually sections where people that want to travel abroad give their opinions and hints on how to get there. So one day I was just trying to go through the scripts of different people giving different experiences. And here was a Nigerian in Illinois State University giving testimony of how he got his admission and how he settled so well in Illinois State University. And yeah, that was just it. I was just looked up the school, then I started the application process. And yeah, everything worked perfectly.
Wow. So for the master's degree, what program did you pursue?
I pursued chemistry also. I love chemistry, so I went for chemistry.
Oh,
Yeah.
you're a sharp brain.
Thank you.
Okay, so when you were making that application, was that the only school you applied to, Illinois State University?
I did not apply to only Illinois. I applied to a couple of schools.
Okay.
So I tried to strike a balance between going for a master degree program and a PhD program. So I applied to some PhD schools.
Okay.
And I applied to some master school. Unfortunately, most of the PhD schools actually denied me. So I was only left with Illinois State as at that time, and I was like, okay, let me just take the opportunity and go in there and see what comes of it. So yeah.
Yeah, I always tell people that you don't always need to get the ultimate. You just need just 1 years to get there. It's like a door. A foot in the door. So somebody, I know some friends who have been trying public health every year. They don't get it, but then I realized that other programs like sociology. I'm talking about the social sciences, sociology, criminology, anthropology, they have funding. So why not apply to them, get the funding? You can always switch. So sometimes you just need one program to put your foot in the door.
Yeah, you're very right in that area because like when I started, I wanted to do PhD and I was very much focused on getting PhD school. I mean, like I knew I had good transcript in terms of performance in undergrad, but I keep applying to grad schools and mostly all of them are not so much interested in my application for whatever reason. So I had to switch and lower my expectation by going to like master school. And it was a very great experience overall. I have a couple of friends also that like typically instances where their field is not so well recognized in the United States. So yeah, there's always that opportunity where you can write a personal statement on
Yeah.
what you've done and how it's useful or how it's beneficial to that particular department you want to go to.
Yeah.
And yeah, that was very well. Yeah,
Yeah, I think you always have to strategize. Imagine you were
absolutely.
just like, oh, I only want PhD. I'm sure you would still be applying.
Yep, yep.
So when you were applying to the master's program in chemistry, what were the requirements for your school, Illinois State, as at that time?
I think it doesn't change.
It doesn't change. Okay.
It's typically it's still the same thing. Like you write your personal statement or give a brief summary of who you are and why you're interested in the program. Then you have a very good transcript and very good recommendation letters from your advisor or from your professors in your alma mater, which is probably your undergrad.
Okay.
With that, I think you stand a good chance. I always recommend people write GRE because, though it's not like one of the requirements, but it's a kind of additional advantage if you have that GRE score. Yeah.
So around what time did you make the application when you were in Nigeria? And then when did you get admission?
It's always advisable to apply around this time, like August, September, October, if possible. I'm sure I applied like around September and I got the offer before end of the year. I think the earlier you apply, the better because competition, I mean, it's always a kind of competitive platform where there are a lot of applicants. So if they review your application quite early before all the 4.0 people comes in, then most likely you get a very good, you get an offer early and,
Early.
they most likely, I mean, they won't withdraw the offer because they had another person that just got 4.0 now. They just
Yeah.
give it off and yeah, you just go through. So yeah, the earlier the better.
Okay. And also for Illinois State, did you get full funding or it was partial funding?
Fortunately for me, I had full funding.
Okay.
The chemistry program typically allows full funding because if you're doing research, financing research yourself is not that very easy.
Okay.
So most master program in Illinois State, the science oriented, we fund
STEM.
the program. Yeah. So typically, it's more or less like just having a very good background and know what you want to go there to do. Yeah.
Okay. And also with that full funding, were you required to teach or grade or it was just research?
Oh
Yeah.
yeah. So most of the time you go teaching. Yeah, I teach undergrads some basic chemistry, which I mean an average African will be able to teach because it's not that complicated.
Yeah.
Yeah, then you grade their exams and yeah, review their reports,
Mhm.
do 1 to 2 hours of office hours where you get to meet the student, they come around, you ask questions about the class and stuff. So yeah, so you teach most of the time. For professors that have funding, and if you're working in such professors lab, mostly they may fund you for RA, where all you have to do is just go into the lab and do research. So during my time there, I teach or I taught for 3 semesters, and I did RA, which is research assistant, for 1 semester.
Okay. So that was a 2 years program too.
Yep, it's a
Yeah.
2 year program. The advantage of that is a lot actually, because sometimes when you look at the fact that, oh, I have to spend 2 years for a master program, that doesn't worth it. But actually, worth it because you have opportunity to write thesis.
Okay.
You are exposed to research, and you become more versatile in terms of how to do research. For instance, when I entered Notre Dame now, my advisor is less worried about me. She doesn't really like get worried about where I am or where I'm
Yeah.
going,
Yeah.
because she knew I had that fundamental of how research works. So I go into the lab, I do what I have to do, I leave. So all I have to do is, you're more matured in handling PhD program. That's the summary.
So, do you appreciate the fact that you went through the master's degree here to further transition to the PhD? Imagine you had gained PhD admission from Nigeria. How would that be?
I
Do you
mean,
think it was better you had the master's here to get familiar with the system?
I think it's a two-way thing. For me, I was very grateful I had that experience. And the reason is that experience made me have like 4 publications.
Okay.
just before I
Ouch.
even go into a PhD. So that was a very good one. In terms of like the rigor of master is actually very close to what we have in PhD. So if you can actually survive the master program, then you will do very well in PhD program. So in that perspective, I think I enjoyed it. I love it. I was so grateful I did because now I think I'm more relaxed in PhD program.
Yeah.
So if I look at other Nigerians that are just coming into a PhD program straight from Nigeria, it's quite an entirely different ball game. I can tell you that because yeah, so like the research experience is so low that they have to like you have to most of the time spoon feed them like, hey, this
Yeah.
is what you need to do. You need to go to article, review article, see what it's all about, then do this experiment and do that. So but for me, I already knew what I had to do. So but I don't most of the time I don't meet my advisor except we have meetings and stuff. So I could go into internet, search my articles I'm interested in, read the review, go into the lab, carry out the experiment without asking, oh, please, how do you use this instrument? Because I already know how to use it. So yeah, that make it relatively easier in
Okay.
terms of acclimatizing to a new PhD program.
Program.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so two waiting time, you have to spend a little bit more time in terms of like spend 2 years for it, but it's worth it.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. So with that funding you had for the masters, was it conditional? Because for my school and then a few friends I know, you have to meet at least 3.0 every semester. You have to make 3.0 GPA or CGPA to maintain your funding. And the funding is normally not guaranteed at any point in time. Once they feel like they don't have enough money, they can
Mhm.
just take it away from you. Was that your situation?
I mean, I don't know any school in United States that we give you money and tell you, man, just mess
It
with the money.
happens. It
Yeah.
happens. So
I mean,
recently, a friend of mine in
mm,
Western Illinois, she
okay.
got funding, and then going into the second year,
Uh-huh.
they were like they are short on funds, so they want her to even finish before her time.
Yeah, so
And
that's what I'm
she's not
trying
the
to say.
only person, but then there
But at
are.
least there is a condition there.
Mhm.
So I think so for Illinois State, you must maintain 3.0, and I think
Okay.
that's the same across all United States schools. If you go below 3.0, then you're no longer a grad student because that's like the minimum requirement for you to just be in the program. So yeah, that was expected of you. At
Okay.
the same time, you need to maintain good conduct in terms of showing up in the lab, do your experiments, uh, be proactive. That's all. For me, I would say there are a lot of conditions you have to meet. I set the standard myself. So apart from going above 3.0, I also ensure that I do very well in terms of research.
Yeah.
So because I've had instances where people go into the school and was like, okay, when I get 3.0, I get 4.0, that would be good. And not show up in the lab, then professor will withdraw the funding. Because I mean, the reason why you're being paid is because you need to be in the lab and get some work done.
Yeah.
So instances like that happens. You don't want to fall prey into that kind of situation. So the expectation is very high. They're giving you a lot of money in terms of paying your tuition, paying for your housing, and
Yeah.
ensure that at least you live well. Excuse me. Yeah, ensuring that you live well. So you also need to live up to that expectation by prove some stocks and you know.
Yeah. I know with the STEM, normally your stipend is much higher than all other programs.
That's very true. I mean, it's based on the fact that you spend a lot of time in the lab,
The lab,
so you
yeah.
have limited time to work outside. So
So
90% of the
roughly,
time.
can you give us a rough estimate of the stipend in the
Um,
master's
I
degree?
can't remember now exactly, but I can tell you it was quite not so big. Maybe around 1,200 or
Okay,
1,000.
that was then. That's a long time ago because
Yeah,
now some people
that
take
was like
that
2 years ago.
ago. Yeah,
Yeah, so probably I mean with all the inflation in United States, that might have gone up. So
maybe
but
1,005.
I mean like overall you're if with no matter how small the amount looks to you, you're going to live well.
Yeah,
You can have a house, you can eat, and you can have a little bit of savings. So
yeah,
depending on your lifestyle. So yeah, so it's not like that bad, But yeah.
yeah. Okay. Thank you very much.